The Odyssey is the 3,000-year-old epic telling the story about Odysseus and his path back home to Ithaca after the Trojan War. But you guys probably already know that, and judging by the box office numbers, if you clicked on this video, you've probably seen the movie at this point. But this iteration of the Odyssey is the 13th film by legendary filmmaker Christopher Nolan. Dare I say the most influential director working in Hollywood today? Now, some background on me. I loved Oppenheimer in 2023. It was my favorite movie the year that it came out, and I love or like all of Christopher Nolan's previous films. So whenever this was announced as his next project, I was particularly excited. Not only were we getting another Christopher Nolan movie, but he was going to tackle a story that we all already knew, but hadn't really had a definitive theatrical version done yet. There's been a lot like it. There's been iterations of the Odyssey done in the past, but there hasn't been a full movie that is the quintessential Odyssey film. We were finally getting that. Plus, we don't get a lot of swords and sandals movies now like we did in, say, the early 2000s, whenever movies like Troy or Gladiator or even Alexander were coming out. Now, again, if you clicked on this video, you are probably aware that this movie had a bunch of controversies coming out. It had nothing to do with the actual movie because no one had actually seen it, but it was a case of, in my opinion, whenever you are on top of the mountaintop, people want to see you fall, and that was very much the case before this movie was coming out. But in my opinion, and it's a little poetic that I'm wearing a Spurs shirt right now, ball don't lie. If the movie's good, the movie's good. And guess what? The movie's amazing. Christopher Nolan continues to raise the bar of what is possible for a major Hollywood blockbuster and what exactly that could mean, because for much of the 2010s, it was superhero films, but now, I mean, we live in a world now where Oppenheimer made almost $1 billion, and this movie is going to make over $1 billion. We're on, like, how many days has it been out? Like, almost 2 weeks, and it's almost at $700 million. That's incredible. This is going to be a measured review, don't you worry. I'm not just going to sit here and praise everything about the Odyssey, but I am going to get into my positives first, and we cannot talk about this movie without first talking about the direction. There are not many directors that are able to weave the stories, characters, timelines, along with just all of the technicals. This is a feast for the eyes. It takes an incredible director at the top of their game who is the best in the world to be able to weave all of this together and have it not only be good, but have it be great and coherent. Christopher Nolan has outdone himself with this film. Next up, I have to praise the editing of this film. Initially, I was a little critical about how they edited a specific battle scene. Okay, I won't spoil it, even though, like, a lot of people have seen this movie at this point. I'm getting this out pretty late. But I love how the editing of this movie plays into the core themes that it hits on. And so I'll just keep talking about this specific battle scene. You see a little bit more every time that they show it, and you unravel something about Odysseus in each time or each progression of this battle. And you know, a lot of this movie, the way that it works out is we're kind of like going back to parts of Odysseus' journey while also focusing on his son and his wife in Ithaca, or Sparta, as well. And we're also spending time in the present where Odysseus is trying to remember things about his journey on Calypso's island. And at this point, I mean, Nolan and his editors, they have the multiple timeline thing down, but it's still, they make it look easy. It's really hard to do that and have it make sense and have the audience actually follow it, but they were able to thread the needle once again with this film. What is there to say about the cinematography of this movie that isn't blatantly obvious? There are gorgeous landscapes and locations. There's one battle scene in particular with the giants where just, it was gorgeous to look at. I also love how they're able to convey the thematic elements for specific characters based off of the use of their lighting, the set design. I thought that it really helped tell the story of these characters that they weren't telling, because a lot of them are putting on a front for the public or for specific people, but then in private, it tells a totally different story and you learn more about their character. And I thought that it was really gorgeously well done. And then the score of this movie is beautiful. It can be epic at times. I really do think that this is going to go down as an iconic score, and Ludwig Göransson, once again, is incredible and does everything that Nolan needs him to do and convey through the music in this film. I mean, I thought Oppenheimer's score was immaculate, honestly. I thought it was perfect, and that ended up winning Ludwig his second Oscar. He's won a third one since then for Sinners. He might just win his fourth one for this film and go back to back and win his, I think that'll make it, because his first one was for Black Panther in 2018, or the ceremony was in 2019. That would be 4 Academy Awards for score within 10 years. Now, the script, I'm like 90% positive on. On one hand, I love how they flipped a story that we all know into a different perspective in regard to the Trojan horse to play into where Nolan wanted to take us with Odysseus's arc and his character development. I think that that's incredible. It's incredibly genius and something that I didn't expect going into this film. And I also like how they don't make Odysseus a perfect character. You know, he's not a Mary Sue, or I forget the male interpretation of that trope, where basically a person is great at everything just because they are that person. A great example would be like Rey in the most recent Star Wars movies, where it's like she's just kind of good at everything. Odysseus, the script does a great job of showing that this is a flawed man, and we're led to believe that he is a great leader, which he is, or like a perfect leader, but he makes mistakes throughout the entire movie. And initially, upon my first viewing, he would make certain decisions, and I would sit there like, now, why would he do that? That makes no sense. And that's the entire point. They are showing us in plain sight that he is not a perfect man, but we are so already bought into him because of our knowledge of the story and where it is going to go. Now, the script, there are some parts where I don't think the dialogue is great, but I'm not going to sit here and nitpick the Odyssey, you know? Like, it's not like 100% out of me. It's probably getting nominated for Adapted Screenplay at the end of the year. It wouldn't shock me if it didn't win that, but for the most part, like, again, 90%, that's an A-. Like, I think the script is pretty dang good. All right, let's get into something that I know everybody's interested in. Let's talk about the performances, and you can't talk about the performances of the Odyssey without first talking about Matt Damon and how he is perfect for this role. I love how, you know, Matt Damon, just his persona, we've watched him for the last 30 years. We want to like Matt Damon, or at least I want to like Matt Damon. Maybe not Jimmy Kimmel, but I like Matt Damon. So you come into the movie with that baggage almost, where you have this perception of Odysseus, and he's portrayed by Matt Damon. So you think, oh, he's the hero, and he's the perfect golden son, and you want to root for him all the way, which is good. But it keeps us bought in whenever he makes mistakes, or whenever he does something that might be a little shady. Matt Damon keeps you bought in on that character because of the decades of work that he has put in into being one of the most likable performers in Hollywood. But he also perfectly embodies that character from a physicality standpoint. It's incredible, his physical transformation to undergo this role, the range that he has to have throughout moments of this movie. I mean, they have the clip of whenever they're going through and he's listening to the siren song. He is incredible in that movie. In that scene, I've seen it 3 times now, and every time that I watch it, that scene hits me harder and harder and harder. So at the end of the year, if he ends up getting nominated for an Oscar for this movie, which I think he probably should be, that's probably the clip people fall back to. Now, I try to tread lightly whenever it comes to huge grand statements, so I've given this a lot of thought. And I'm fully convinced that this is Anne Hathaway's best performance of her career, including her performance in Les Mis that won her an Oscar. Now, it's a supporting role, okay? She's in the movie for probably like 30, 40 minutes tops, but she steals every scene that she's in. There's a scene in particular where she is talking to... I'm trying my best not to spoil this. I'm sorry. I'll put it like this. She is having a conversation with somebody who has information on Odysseus. And where she goes in that scene, like, it is the other actor's scene that, like, they're giving an amazing performance, but then it cuts back to Anne Hathaway. and she's like in tears, but also trying to hold back. She shows a lot of restraint in this performance, and I thought that it was like, give her the Oscar right now. There's going to have to be a really, really good supporting actress that comes on later in the year to take this away from Anne Hathaway, because I think that she was astounding in this film. And then while I'm talking about supporting actress Oscars, we may as well lump Samantha Morton in there, who has a scene in this film as Cersei. Incredibly creepy, super effective, which I know, like, the word effective, like, maybe has a negative connotation. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm underscoring her performance. She's very creepy. I love her interaction with Matt Damon. The scene with Cersei doesn't work if Samantha Morton is a lesser actress. And so I thought that she was amazing in her scene in the movie. And then Tom Holland, I think that this is the best performance of his career as well. I thought that he really played into sort of what I was saying before, like in the beginning of the movie, almost like a more naive character, thinking like he could take the throne, but he obviously has a ways to go. Anne Hathaway and him play off of each other really well. The only issue I have there is with the character, not Holland's performance. I think Tom Holland was great. Make no mistake about it. I think the people saying that he's the worst performance in the movie, like, come on, get out of here. I saw one article from a professional publication that ranked the performances, like 17 performances, including people that are in it for like 2 minutes, and they had him at the bottom, and I just think that that's classless, and they're looking for clicks. Tom Holland is fantastic in this movie. Make no mistake about it. For his character, Telemachus, I feel like they were trying to get his character to a certain point and have a certain level of development by the end that I don't think was necessarily earned. And I could have used a little bit more time with his character in the middle portion of the movie, and I'll get into the flaws that I have, or the issues that I have with the movie at the end of this video. But it has nothing to do with Tom Holland's performance. I thought he was great. And look, all the supporting performances are great in this movie. I mean, Robert Pattinson is great as, I guess, the villain character. There's plenty of villains in this movie, but I thought that he was great. I loved seeing Corey Hawkins in this movie. I would love to see him work with Christopher Nolan and have this open up a lot more opportunities for him. He's one actor that I wish I'd gotten a little bit more work after Straight Outta Compton, because he's spectacular in that movie. So I was happy to see him here. John Leguizamo, I mean, if I had to pick out of all the supporting performances in this movie to get nominated for an Oscar or maybe win, it would be him. I've never seen him like this. Like, Christopher Nolan brought something out of him that I have not seen in a movie. And make no mistake, I think John Leguizamo is a really good performer, but he's been in some stinkers. Okay? I feel like that's not a hot take. I love seeing him in this movie, and I love seeing him go to the places he goes to in this film. Himesh Patel, I love seeing him pop in as Odysseus' second in command, and he was like, he really has to pull off his role and putting Odysseus in his place, and he has a lot of screen time, which I was not prepared for. Love seeing him here. And then I think Elliot Page was perfectly casted in his role and has a great scene in Hades. I mean, I ate it up. It was a great scene. And okay, so not to bury the lead, but this movie's a 5 out of 5 for me. I still have flaws with it, but this is an incredible accomplishment. So let me get into the few issues that I have. I mentioned the issues that I have with Telemachus' character, minor issues with the script, but then I could have used a little bit more time of Odysseus on Calypso's island, like getting bought in on why he would want to stay. I get that he's eating the lotus flower and he's not in the right space, but apparently they were happy. I could have used a little bit more time there. I already mentioned the development of Telemachus. The fight scene at the end of the film, I'm not a big shaky cam guy. And there were parts where I found it, for me, a little disorienting. I couldn't really follow what was going on. So I thought that could have been a little bit better, but it was still awesome. And then lastly, there is a long gap in the movie where we don't see certain characters, and I would have liked to have, have that time shrunk down a little bit to follow what's going on with characters not named Odysseus at times. So at the end of the day, I have flaws for this movie. It's still a masterpiece. And if that doesn't make sense to you, I'm sorry. It makes sense to me. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. You absolutely need to go see it if you haven't already. Movies like this don't get made very often, and they aren't shown on this format as often. And in the age of streaming and, big CGI fests, which aren't necessarily a bad thing whenever they're done right, This is a special movie because of its grandiose ideas, performances we get out of it. We have the best director in Hollywood making it. It's a sword and sandal movie that we don't get very often. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more of them here pretty soon. Go see the Odyssey. Like, come on. Go see the Odyssey already. All right, that's all that I got today. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I know I have been gone for over a year now. This movie is good enough to bring me back to the YouTube channel. I appreciate you clicking on the video. More to come later.